On April 2nd, 2021, the world lost a shining light in Corey Micciolo, a 6, almost 7-year-old boy who died. That is tragic. No child, no matter what age, should die. But he didn't do it. He did not kill Corey. And they did not bring in one police witness, one doctor, one expert, one single layperson that showed you any evidence that Christopher caused an injury to Corey that killed him. Oh, they brought in cell phone records, they brought in text messages, they brought in phone calls, they brought in internet searches, they even brought in police from Alcoa, Tennessee. Ms. Lento yesterday sat here and cross-examined Dr. Bonnet. Her cross-examination consisted of, did you review this text message? Did you review this phone call? Did you review this record? Did you review this record? Her cross had very little to do with medicine. She touched on it, but most of it had to do with, did you know that he had a school teacher that reported seeing a bruise? And the doctor agreed with her. As a matter of fact, at one point, Dr. Bonin said to her, I'm agreeing with you too much. But he also testified that none of that stuff had absolutely anything to do with Corey's death. Nothing to do with Corey's death. The one person that might have been able to come here and explain to you Corey's death would be perhaps Dr. Ragassa. Dr. Ragassa was the medical examiner. Dr. Ragassa is the one that dissected Corey. Dr. Ragassa is the one that prepared the slides. Dr. Ragassa is the one that took each and every organ out of that body. Dr. Ragassa is the person that ordered the exams he thought were appropriate, such as a lung culture, not a blood culture. Dr. Larkin, who worked for the ME's office, was another person. Took a CAT scan. Now, did we hear from the medical examiner? Did we hear from the one person who did all of these tests, who ordered all of these tests? No. His report, every single expert, forget about Dr. Bonnet. Forget about Dr. Bonnet. Dr. Andrew relied on their medical examiner. Dr. Feingold relied on their medical examiner. And yes, Dr. Bonin relied on their medical examiner. Relied on those slides and relied on that report. We heard Dr. Ragassa's name mentioned more in this case than we heard Christopher's name mentioned in this case. He was the one that did the autopsy. The person that did all of the work here. And we didn't hear from him. And I'll show you why I'll show you why. I'll show you that there was a concerted effort to show you bits and pieces of things. Let's show a little bit of this, let's show a little bit of that. At one point they introduced a text exchange, part of it. I got up and I introduced the whole text exchange. So you don't get to pick and choose little snippets of what you want you to say. You deserve the whole story. What else did they give us? They gave us a doctor, Dr. Deacon, sat here in his chair. 10 minutes before you walked in here, we did a hearing with Dr. Deacon. She testified one way. We brought you into the courtroom. She testified another way. They gave you a nurse, Lindsay Carnivale. Okay, I'm going to get to Lindsay. Lindsay Carnivale. She's a member of Justice for Corey. She's the one that said that Christopher was under emoting. By the way, that's a word I never, ever heard of in my life till I stepped in this courtroom. Under emoting means that he wasn't emotional enough to her liking. Member of Justice for Corey. We all want justice for Corey. We all want justice for everybody. Justice is not convicting a man for murder who did not commit a murder. That's not justice. Justice is an honest and complete look at the evidence. Justice is you using your common sense. You were chosen out of hundreds of people to sit here and deliver justice. That's why you were chosen. One of the only things we agreed on is we believed that you were the perfect people because you would listen to the evidence, you would listen to the judge's charge on the evidence, you will go back in that room and you will apply that to the evidence. Good morning. I'm Mario, and I have the honor of representing Christopher. And this is my summation. And this is it. You don't get to hear from me again. Some of you may be very happy about that. Some of you maybe look forward to coming here every day and watching me prance around the courtroom. But this is it. This is the last time I get to speak to you, and I'm going to talk about what we know. What we know. What did the evidence show us? So where should we start? Let's start at the beginning. Beginning of this case, we find out that Dave Gregor, Christopher's father, receives a phone call from somebody. He introduces herself as Rebecca Micciolo, and she's looking for some type of support for a child that Dave Gregor had never met. And this was back 2018. Child was 5 years old. We know that Christopher takes a paternity test. And guess what? He's the father of a 5-year-old child that he never met. So, what does Christopher do? Quits his job working for Urban Teachers down in Baltimore, Maryland, moves back to Monroe, New Jersey, and moves back into Mommy and Daddy's house. And what do they do at that point? They have a plan. They meet, as families do. What are we going to do? We now have a 5-year-old child of Christopher's. So they decide as a family how they're going to go forward. They meet young Corey for the first time in August of 2018. At that time, he's 5 years old. 5 years old. They bring him into their home. I believe Dave Gregor testified that he went through the house to find the objects that his 4 children used when they were growing up in the house, and they tried to make it comfortable for this young man. We know if that was in August, come October, September, October, and if we throw in August, 3 months later, this 5-year-old boy, who's been with presumably his grandmother, Rebecca, they now get parental custody of this child. Within 3 months, the Gregors now become the residential parent of a 5-year-old child they have never met until 3 months earlier. And that speaks volumes. Volumes on how the Gregor family, within 3 months, become a residential parent of a child that they just met who is 5 years old. And what did they do? They embraced it. They embraced it. You heard Dave Gregor testify that they enrolled him in the schools in Monroe. Christopher was working down South Jersey. He would leave early in the morning. Dave would get him on the school bus. Dave was retired from the state troopers. He would get him off the bus. Christopher would come home. They would do homework together. Dad would play soccer and basketball and baseball. He told us all those activities they did to bring this young man into their home. They set up a room. He had his own bedroom. Grandpa became like a dad. Dad was working, and he would come home. And they moved all merrily along as a nice, happy family until January of 2020. And what happens in January of 2020? Brianna loses custody and visitation. Why? She has a drug issue. Which is, people have drug issues. People could rehab from drug issues. But she has a drug issue. And now they went from having no child to now being the sole parent in charge of this young man within about 5 or 6 months. This arrangement continues until Brianna finally, she testified, I'll get to her, believe me, I'm going to get to her. But until she finally cleans up her act and begins to get some visitation with her son that her mother during this time had visitation with. But she did not have visitation with him. She gets 1 day a week and every other weekend. We know Christopher moves out of the house. He moves to Barnegat in August of 2020, I believe. And at this point, everything is hunky-dory. Everybody is fine. she's got her visitation. As a matter of fact, at some point, there was testimony that the two of them were basically living together. She testified that they were looking at homes together. And then what happens? Something happens. Because that relationship now becomes acrimonious. And as I was sitting there last night and over the weekend thinking about this, I'm like, what happened then? What happened that everybody was on this beautiful path, and then all of a sudden, everything went downhill? And I remembered the conversation that the state put in with Mr. Cicero. The conversation where he called DC P&P. And during that conversation, he said some things. And in those things, he said that I'm concerned that the baby's mother, Brianna, is relapsing. I'm concerned that she has entered back into a relationship with her ex-boyfriend. And this is now, when we go forward, is corroborated actually by Brianna and her testimony. That, and I'm going to get to it, but she reaches out to Justin for a bump, if you remember, a bump. Can I get a bump? I'll get to it. But that's where we start seeing now this relationship, maybe this is going to work. Maybe these two kids are going to live together and going to raise this kid, Corey, together, and everything will be fine. Well, that's the furthest thing from the truth. And we know what happens. So now, on March 19th, not her regularly scheduled visit, she asks permission. Can I have Corey? Because remember, she only has visitation rights. So it's once a week, every other weekend, she wants to see him. And what does Chris say? Sure. Go ahead. Take him. But I want you to bring him home at whatever time. He allows it to happen. And what happens? She doesn't return. She says she hit traffic. They argue. She arrives late. And she ends up meeting Christopher at the gym. And we see this chat going on between the two of them. This acrimonious chat between, where are you? I'm going to take away some of your parenting time. Tit for tat, the two of them, back and forth. Drop him off. And she does. She drops him off at the gym, and we see Christopher go to her car, and you see them have a discussion. We can't hear the discussion, but you could see that that discussion was not a happy discussion. And what do we see next? We see Corey going to the gym with his dad. We see his dad pointing to a treadmill. We see that young boy get up on the treadmill all by himself. We see that young boy operate that treadmill all by himself. This is not the first time that child was on a treadmill. That child knew exactly how to work a treadmill and knew exactly what to do. And then we see what we saw. I didn't like it. I'm sure you didn't like it. I don't really care if you liked it or not. And I don't care if you liked him or not. Because it doesn't really matter. Because every single expert said, even their experts said, that treadmill had absolutely nothing to do with his death 12 days later. And I'm not conceding, by the way, endangering. I don't want you to think for a minute, oh, Mr. Gallucci's up there saying, oh, he's guilty of endangering. Absolutely not. It's not the way I would run a child on a treadmill, but I don't have a relationship that he had with his son. I could tell you what I saw in that video. I could tell you that when it was finished, I saw Corey get off that treadmill. I saw Corey run out of a gym. I saw Corey walk out. Everybody makes a big deal about the fight. And I got to tell you, when I first saw that video, and I saw him grab his head, I was like, so, name one single doctor, Deacon, the doctors from Community Health, Dr. Auld, Dr. Andrews, Dr. Feingold, even Dr. Bottom. Name one doctor that said there was any evidence of a bite mark to the top of Corey's head. Not one. We have 2 body charts. They went to great lengths with 2 body charts from 2 different doctors. Did any one of those doctors indicate that was a bite on the head? There was a bite mark on the head. No, not one. So what was it to me when I go back and I look? I see a frustrated father. I see a father who's frustrated. By the way, Corey kept getting back up on that treadmill. There's only one time he puts him on the treadmill. Corey keeps getting back up on that treadmill. And the point he tries to put him up on the treadmill, he's trying to get his feet on the side, not from where it's running. And you see him go down on his head. To me, after looking at it again, and after reviewing the evidence, and after looking at the medical records, and seeing that not one single doctor said that was a bite, that was a frustrated father. Ah! I don't know how you transcribe that, but that's what that was. No physical evidence. And how else do we know that Corey was okay after that treadmill? 2 days later, he's with Grandpa and Grandma. He's down in Barnegat, looking at houses. Dave Gregor testified that they saw 2 homes. One home was close to the street, and they were concerned because Corey was running around. He was energetic. It's 6. What 6-year-old isn't energetic? A 6-year-old that just got really hurt badly on a treadmill is maybe not energetic. But not a 6-year-old that did not get hurt on a treadmill. 2 days later, he's energetic. He's fun. They go to a relative's house. They hang out. Corey's bored. He wants French fries. That's all he wants. What 6-year-old doesn't want French fries? Hell, I want French fries. All right? 6 years old, he wants French fries. They go out to dinner. They take him down to a restaurant that's on the bay, I guess. Corey eats French fries. And he's got a bruise to his head. That they see. And they discuss. He visits Brianna on the 23rd. 3 days later. She doesn't do anything. She doesn't call DCP&P that day. She doesn't alert anybody to the fact that my Corey is hurt. This is her visitation day, the 23rd. 3 days after Treadmill. And I'm going to get to this. But, the bruises were different ages. I'll get there. 3 days later, she has him. Not an issue with bruising. Not a word. Not a call to DCP&P. Nothing. 3 days later. The 27th. 7 days later. This child is trying out for a football team. A football team. 7 days later, the boy that was supposedly abused on a treadmill, who's injured and hurt, is trying out for a football team. 7 days later. The 28th. Now she goes to DCP&P. I see a bruise. I see this. I see evidence of this. They call the police. And the police come. And by the way, I don't have to do a thing. I could have sat in that chair through this whole trial and did absolutely nothing. I told you I would, but I could do absolutely nothing. The burden lies right here with Ms. Schron and Ms. Lento. I called the police on my case to show you that 2 police officers responded to check out Corey. 2. Officer number 1 was Dugan. He actually looked at Corey, didn't find anything wrong with Corey, noticed some bruising, didn't think anything of it, had a discussion with this other officer, and actually testified that he believed that Christopher and Corey had a good relationship. This was an investigation for child abuse. 8 days after the treadmill video, 2 officers, not 1, 2 officers go down and they meet Corey, they talk to Corey, they look at Corey, they speak to Christopher, and what do we get from that? We have a good relationship. Officer Roman, I believe his name is, he comes in too. And what does Officer Roman say? Officer Roman says that he has seen in the past Corey and Christopher up at the turf field playing football. He's seen them together playing football. And I believe it was Miss Lento. I may be wrong. Your memory is what's right here, not mine, not anybody's, but yours. I think it was Miss Lento that asked him what he was doing at the football field. And I believe he said he was throwing passes. As a matter of fact, I believe Officer Roman went so far as to say he was diving for passes in the end zone. Diving. That's what 6-year-olds do. They dive, they fall, they bump, they hit things. It was 8 days later. 8 days after Treadmill. There's nothing wrong with Corey. 0 wrong with Corey. Every single time there's an issue, we roll out treadmill. Treadmill, 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 ad nausea. And I'm sure, I could guarantee you, before you leave here today, we're going to see treadmill. Guarantee it. Guarantee it. Not one single person, not one lay person, not one doctor, not one police officer, not one expert has said anything about that treadmill causing an injury that killed Corey, or better yet, that caused any significant injury whatsoever to Corey. We have body graphs, 2 doctors, Dr. Deacon, Dr. Ung, do body graphs. And I'm going to get to the information that we're given in a minute. But in the body graphs themselves, do they delineate on those body graphs the injuries that were caused from falling on a treadmill? We know they didn't see any bite marks to his head. Do they delineate, oh, this bruise must have happened from a treadmill, this bruise must have happened from a football fall, this bruise must have happened from OE6, although one of them, I think it was Deacon, and I'll get to her, Deacon did testify that, 6-year-olds fall. On April 1st, we're now 11 days after Treadmill. 11 days. Brianna applies for an emergent court order. My son is being abused. It's 11 days later, by the way. She's had him through those days. But 11 days later, now today, why? Why? I thought about it. So why 11 days later, out of nowhere, does she just do this? Well, he does have bruises. He does have bruises. And what does that mean? Aha! Maybe I could get custody. Maybe I could have more than just visitation. Maybe the court now will give me my little boy. And I don't have to run from Jamesburg down to Barnegat once a week. Here's my shot to get my boy. And what happened with that court order? It was denied. Denied. Yet again, she got struck down another time. But in the court order it says both parents, mother and father, should schedule a visit with a pediatrician together. And alas, here's my opportunity. So when she gets that, if she sees that language, what does she do? She runs him immediately down to a pediatrician. She actually testified about this. Not in so many words, but she testified that she was trying to get full parental custody back, and that she was working on cleaning herself up. And here's her shot to do it. So she violates the court order, and that's important. Not because she violated a court order. We should always obey a court order. I'm not saying that you should go out and violate court orders, but it's important to this case that she violated a court order. She was assigned a DCP&P worker. I think his name was Mark Wolnowski from DCP&P. By the way, I don't think we heard from him either. Yet another person that we hear throughout the whole case. We hear DCP&P, we hear about a worker, but none of them came here to testify, to tell you anything. Bits and pieces. So at IV Pediatrics, what do we get? We get a pediatrician, Dr. Deacon. She's the one that we did a hearing, and at the hearing she testified about how she was speaking to Corey and how she got information out of him. And then after that, you all came in. It's like a dress rehearsal, I was calling them. You all come in, and she completely changes the testimony as to what she did with Corey. And I got angry with her. And I'm sorry, I yelled at her. I wear that. I yelled at her. I lost my cool. Because she lied. She completely changed testimony from a hearing that was 10 minutes before you walked in. She used the word, I had to prod it out of him, the treadmill. I needed to press him. Those are the words she used in order to get information out of a 6-year-old child. Corey actually originally told her he hit his head playing football on the turf. We know he was playing football. We have testimony that he was playing football. He was at football tryouts that week, so we know he's playing football. Officer Roman confirmed that he's seen him playing football. She's prodding a 6-year-old based on what? And this is what's important. And this is what Dr. Bodden testified to, and Dr. Andrew testified to, and Dr. Feingold testified to. She made her questions and decisions based upon information that who was giving her? Who was giving her that information? Brianna. Brianna, the person that is looking to get custody, went to a court to get custody, didn't get custody, and instead of doing what the court said to do by taking them together, she decided on her own, you know what? Let me take him to the pediatrician now. Dr. Deacon testified. Brianna stayed in the room the whole entire time. She got the history from Brianna. Do you think that Brianna in her history told her that she was in the process of cleaning up? Do you think that Brianna in her history told her that she's still taking methamphetamines? Do you think Brianna, in giving the history to that doctor, gave her any of that information? Do you think that Brianna told her that I had Corey on the 23rd, I didn't say anything? I watched him at football tryouts on the 28th, the 27th. Do you think that Brianna gave that to Dr. Deacon? She didn't. How do we know that? It would have been in the record. There'd be a record of what Dr. Deacon was told by Brianna. Just like it would be in the record that there were bite marks to the top of his head, and the chart she made, there would be bite marks. Dr. Deacon confirmed, and this goes back, by the way, now to Treadmill, and child abuse. This goes back to that. She confirmed that he did not appear in any distress, and that he had multiple bruises in varying degrees of time. She did not indicate on her chart which bruises were from a treadmill, which bruises were from a football practice, or, as she stated, what bruises are from a 6-year-old child. The 6-year-old children fall, bump into things, and do stupid things. She testified that he had normal bruises. She testified to this. Normal bruises you can explain with falling and playing like children do. She did notice a fresh scratch on his belly button because it was still moist. Well, who had him? Brianna had him. So how did the injury to the belly button occur? And by the way, I'm not saying that Brianna abused his child, but I'm just trying to show you that he's a 6-year-old child. And he had a fresh abrasion on his belly button while in her custody. What does she do next? Dr. Deacon tells her, I want him to stay. I want to do further studies just to make sure he's got no underlying injury under his skin. So we'll take him by ambulance or whatever, I guess to Jersey Shore. I forget what hospital. Like I said, it's your memory, that's right, not mine. I believe it was to Jersey Shore. And she said, no, I'll take him myself, which is fine. She wanted to take him. She thought it would be quicker. It's her son. So she takes him to community health. They do an exam there. And what happens at the end of that exam? They want her to take him to Jersey Shore. And she says, I'll take him. Again. And this is important. It's important because if he goes by ambulance, who are they speaking to? Corey. If she takes him, who's conveying a history? Brianna. She needed to be in control of every one of those medical visits. If she controls the medical visit, she controls the narrative. And we get to meet Dr. I think I'm pronouncing his name right. Remember him? I think Ms. Ferrante did the cross-examination of him. I believe he did the wrong calculation for blood pressure. His blood pressure was actually high. He didn't know that he had done the wrong calculation until Ms. Ferrante, a lawyer, pointed out to a pediatrician, doctor, that he had done the wrong calculation on calculating his blood pressure. But Dr. Ong said something else. He was a very scary little boy. That's what he said. Very scary little boy. What 6-year-old child that has now been to 3 different medical facilities, it's now close to midnight, he's going from hospital to hospital to hospital, he's being pressed, he's being prodded. What 6-year-old kid is not going to be scared? What was going through Corey's head? What's going through his head? Why is mommy taking me to all these places? Why are they asking me all these questions? What I can tell you is that that kid was probably exhausted. What happens when you're tired? Your immunity goes down. What happens when your immunity goes down? You get sick. And what do they want you to do in a hospital? They want you to wear a mask. Why do they want you to wear a mask? Because there's infections and diseases and bacteria and stuff in hospitals and medical centers. So this little boy, in a matter of 12 hours, is in 3 different medical facilities, and he's exhausted. His immunity is compromised. Let's get back to child abuse. Dr. Ong determined that he saw nothing unusual, nothing, his words, nothing unusual. That the bruises were bruises. There was nothing unusual about Corey. He was in fine condition. He did state that he saw some bruising that he believed was made within hours. He did state that in his report. And once again, who was with him in those hours? Brianna. And once again, I'm not telling you Brianna's abusing this child. I'm not. But I'm saying 6-year-old boys, they bruise. He has scratches at his navel, and now Dr. Ong is finding fresh bruises on his body that he said were caused within hours. So now we have bruises from football, bruises from treadmill, fresh scratches from Dr. Deacon, fresh scratches from Dr. Deacon, fresh bruises from Dr. Ong. So how are you now, you're supposed to do this, how are you going to differentiate what bruises and scratches and contusions were caused by a treadmill, were caused by football, were caused by a 6-year-old being a 6-year-old? Not one doctor gave you any of that information. Not one doctor. Not one doctor said there was anything wrong with Corey. 0. How could you possibly form an opinion for child abuse if we can't even discern a particular injury afforded to that treadmill activity, let alone murder? Murder. What else did Dr. Ong tell us? He said that a child is different. Child systems are different than adult systems. They run at a higher metabolic state, and that they de-escalate very quickly. Dr. Bodden testified yesterday. Dr. Bodden, who has been doing this for maybe 300 years, but Dr. Bodden came here and he testified. He's testified for the government. He's written publications and given lectures on child abuse, forensic pathology. He agrees with Dr. Ong. Children de-escalate very quickly. Very quickly. And Dr. Bodden actually talked about pediatricians. Pediatricians are not forensic pathologists. Pediatricians treat children. Pediatricians don't do things like a forensic pathologist does. They don't do things like Dr. Feingold does. You go to a pediatrician, he looks in your ears, he looks up your nose, he looks down your throat, hits you in the knee a little bit, takes your blood pressure, does your heart rate, takes your pulse. You got any complaints? Feel good, doc? You're good to go. They don't do anything other than that. Dr. Bodden testified to that. A pediatrician is a doctor of treatment. A forensic pathologist is an expert on death. So what does Brianna do next? She takes him home. Jamesburg. We see the picture of her bedroom. She's got two beds in the bedroom. She testified that he slept with her that night. Now, that's not so innocuous. That's really not so innocuous. When do children most likely want to sleep with mommy? When they're not feeling well. That's when they want to sleep with mommy. So it's not so innocuous. Just like her refusing to have somebody take him, Corey, from one place to another. That's not so innocuous either. That's her controlling the narrative. A narrative that she needs to control in order to finally get her child. So what does she do the next morning? As a parent who just traipsed your son through the whole night from doctor to doctor to doctor because you believe your child is abused, who went to court to get an emergent order because you think your child is abused, what does she do? She takes him to Christopher. So how concerned was she really? How concerned was she really that he was abusing him? This is all her narrative. I see a light. I could finally, he's 6, I may finally be able to have custody of this little boy. She brings him to Christopher. Oh, it would have been a violation of a court order. She's already violated the court order when she took him to the doctor without him. The court order was you and the baby's father are to take the child to be evaluated by the pediatrician. And even if she's violating a court order, if you're a parent and you think your child is being abused, do you give him to the abuser? No. So how serious was she? This is all just a ruse. There's a way for her to finally get custody of this kid. Excuse me, Corey. And it gets better. It gets better. At 3:30 in the afternoon, she testifies, or she testifies that he calls her at 3:30. Corey is lethargic, Dr. Bonnet, sign of infection. Corey's legs hurt. Corey's been sleeping all day, throwing up. I need his insurance cards. What's the next thing she does? She calls up or texts on Facebook Messenger her ex-boyfriend, and I guess drug dealer, Justin Vondren, and she asks him to bring her a bump. Not, oh my God, the baby's father just called me and my child is sick and he's taking him to the hospital. May I get a bump? I didn't even know what a bump was until I asked her, and she was gladly explained that it's methamphetamines. It's drugs. And you snort it. That's what she was interested in. I'm going to use that word. Talk about under-emoting. That's the ultimate under emoting. That's not Mommy of the Year. That's not, I'm so concerned about child abuse. That's, let me get a bump. And was that it? No. Moments later in the same conversation, 15 minutes later actually, I'll get it myself. I just don't want that much. 10 minutes later, her son is in the hospital. 10 minutes later. Back to Justin. I asked you for a bump. I don't know if you could add inflection to Facebook Messenger. I did. Are you coming here or am I going there? Brianna says this, you need to come here. 4:38. Hurry up. Do you think when she was making emergent orders to judges to get custody of Corey, she was including in the order that she's bumping it up? Do you think she included that information in the order? Do you think when she met with Dr. Deacon, she told Dr. Deacon she's bumping it up? Do you think when she met with Dr. Ung, she said she was bumping it up? Do you think for 1 minute that had she told any one of those doctors, that any one of those doctors would have said, here's Corey, go home with him? No way would that have happened. So she excludes that in the history she gives to the doctors. She testified that she started calling hospitals to find out where he is because supposedly he's not answering her. Well, he's in the hospital with his son. We're going to get to this hospital. He's in the hospital with his son. We had Sergeant Coles testify. I actually even called him. Sergeant Coles testify to Celebrate and phone calls and hundreds of phone calls and text messages, internet searches, and yada, yada, yada. Did we have any of them come in and say, hey, Sergeant Coles, did you check, Brianna gave me the cell phone. Did you check Brianna's cell phone to see if she called all the hospitals in the area? Who cares? We know she was more interested at that point at snorting methamphetamines while her son was in a hospital that she knew about. He told her that. He told her what was going on. He didn't willy-nilly just bring him and say, let me take him to a hospital. He called the mother. He's sick. He's lethargic. She had nothing to do with Corey's death. Nothing at all to do with Corey's death. He had nothing to do with Corey's death. That death was exactly what Dr. Vanna testified to. Corey died from natural causes. But do you think for a minute that if those 3 separate medical facilities were given accurate histories by Brianna, accurate histories of why she was there. Instead of them focusing on, is this child being abused? Are these bruises from abuse? Are these abuses from football? Are these bruises from a 6-year-old running into a wall? Do you think that maybe they would have taken a different approach? Do you think they might have said, let's look at this, look at that? But no, we were getting a history from her. This is the same person that DCP&P relied on. This is the same person that she called, DCP&P called and sent her to doctors. Do you think that she would still have custody? Or visitation, for that matter, if they knew she was bumping it up? Every single doctor, even their experts, Dr. Bodden, said one of the most important things is taking a history from someone who is lying or giving an inadequate history. Is not going to be helpful to a diagnosis. Your job is not to judge her. His Honor is going to give you a charge. It's a credibility charge. It's whether or not you find her testimony to be credible. And he's going to explain in that charge that if you find her testimony to not be credible, that you can disregard that portion of her testimony, or you are free to disregard all of her testimony. Well, if you disregard the portion of the testimony where she's not telling the truth to a judge, to DCP&P, to Dr. Deacon, to Community Health, I don't remember seeing a doctor from Community Health either, to Dr. Ung, well, that's why you're jurors. You get to make that decision. And while I'm here, after Corey passes, she and her family become a one-man wrecking crew. They go crazy. I can't make this up. I was actually reading this last night. She testified that she woke up one morning, and I believe it was her mother, and a friend. I may be mistaken, but it was at least her. That she wakes up one morning, and they decide, well, I think it's Saturday morning, instead of maybe going to see Corey at his grave, going to church, working on my sobriety, let me go to the local supermarket, let me buy dead fish, ham hocks, and goose egg stones. And let me go to Dave Gregor's house, because I think that's a great idea. Right? I think it's a great idea. To now run to Dave Gregor's house and throw dead fish, ham hocks, and goose egg stones at his house and on his lawn. Is that normal? Is that something you would expect from somebody who is grieving? And look, everybody grieves differently, and I'm going to get to that. But I don't think that grieving is waking up in the morning and buying dead fish, ham hocks, and goose egg stones and throwing them at somebody else's house. Who does that? Maybe somebody bumping it up thinks it's a good idea. That could possibly be the reason. And she starts a GoFundMe page. GoFundMe. Justice for Corey. And then an administrator, you know what, I don't think she set up the GoFundMe page. I think an administrator on the page set it up. She was one of the administrators. I believe she testified that she knew it was set up. And she testified that she did profit from the GoFundMe page. She profited from her son's death. And GoFundMe became very expensive because they have fees attached to them. So they decided in their infinite wisdom, we got to increase the profit here because GoFundMe is taking too much money for us, so let's set it up as Cash App. And what did she say she used the money for? She used the money for burial, she used the money for funeral costs, and she used the money for court. I don't know what she had to use the money for court for, but she used the money for court. Now we come to the drop-off. So she drops Corey off, and I already went through why is she dropping him off here, but she does. To Christopher's house at about 9:02, 9:03. And at that time, she accidentally, never did this before ever, but accidentally videotapes a conversation between her and Corey. Can you play it, please, Ms. Ferranti? May I, Judge?
Certainly, it's in evidence.
He's your other parent, so it's his right, he needs to see it, because you went to the doctor, and I just want to make sure he sees that, okay? I'm not sure where he is.
Stop it.
Counsel, I thought we agreed you'd hit play a second time. I think the first time it starts, ladies and gentlemen, doesn't seem to capture the beginning. So if Ms. Ferranti could just play it a second time.
No, I asked to stop it. There was a reason I asked to stop it.
You can
Yeah,
do it.
he's inside, I don't know why the car's not here, that's strange. Did he ask me? Well, he's your other parent, so it's his right, he needs to see it, because you went to the doctor, and I just want to make sure he sees that, okay? I'm not sure where he is.
Stop it. Dr. Andrew, did you hear Corey moan in that 33-second video? No. Dr. Feingold, did you hear Corey moan in that 33-second video? No.
Yeah.
Dr. Andrew, did you hear Corey yawn in that 33-second video? No. Dr. Feingold, did you hear Corey yawn in that 33-second video? No. This is in evidence. Go back. Go listen to it. He moans and he yawns. And I'm going to get to the diagnosis you're making on a video. So you got to say to yourself, how does she accidentally tape a video that she's never taken before, just so happens to take the video the night she's going from hospital to hospital to hospital, violating a court order, telling doctor after doctor after doctor what's going on, going home, trying to get bumps. What's the one thing that's missing on that video? Them. You don't see Corey. You don't see Brianna. And I'm telling you right now, that was no accidental video. When you walked through that door, the judge didn't instruct you, hey, leave your common sense out there. We picked you because you have common sense. That was done on purpose. On purpose. Trying to set up another, all right, judge said no, doctor said no, let me do a video, and on purpose. We don't see Corey, we don't see Brianna. That's on purpose. I think it was 8 words. At one point in the trial, they said 13. I went back the next day, I counted it, it's 8. You got a transcript, you counted. Dr. Andrew, a forensic pathologist who works on dead bodies, modified his time frame where the blunt force injury occurred on a 33-second video where the child says 8 words. He doesn't hear him moan, he doesn't hear him yawn, but he's able to move that trauma to a time frame of when he's the only person who had control over Corey. Because if he doesn't move that time frame, guess who else is in the middle of it? Brianna. 1 year later, a forensic pathologist, and I'll get to him, but I'm there. Forensic pathologist that they got in New Hampshire. They didn't call their own medical examiner. The person, Dr. Ragassa, who did the autopsy. But they go to New Hampshire. He gives them a report. The report puts it right in the middle of the 2 of them. Well, we can't have that. Let's give him the video. Let's give him the picture. Do we have the picture, Miss Fonte? On the couch? Is that the picture of a man who either just beat his child, is in the process of killing his child, or is at this moment planning on, all right, let me take this picture, and I'm going to get to this picture. Let me take this picture now before I beat my son. Let me take this picture now before I kill my son. So their doctor from New Hampshire comes here and says, that picture, that 33-second videotape without any people in it, except voices, gets him to modify his opinion and rule her out and puts the target completely on him. And a year later, we see him arrested. I believe Ms. Ferrante had the office here yesterday of him getting arrested. And we can get to that. So, let's talk about Christopher for a little while. Between March 20th and April 2nd, March 20th is the point where we have the treadmill. 4/2 is the day Corey passes. So who do we hear from first? Kim Peace. Kim Peace was the lovely school teacher. She comes here and testifies that she saw a bruise. She was upset, or another teacher saw a bruise. They discussed it. They decided that they were going to contact GCQP. They were going to do whatever they needed to do. This is the same teacher, and it's in evidence, that wrote a lovely little letter for him, making him out to be the father of the year. The same teacher that now says that he wore long sleeves on a hot day. Okay? Maybe he was cold. And indicative of child abuse, because he wore long sleeves on a hot day. By the way, he was in school the week after Treadmill. He didn't have long sleeves on then. If they were trying to say he's trying to hide his abuse, wouldn't he have had long sleeves on him then? Wouldn't he even kept him out of school then? If he's abusing his kid, like they want you to believe, he would not have sent him to school. Or if he did, he would have covered him in long sleeves. He didn't, because he's not abusing his kid. The other thing is, they talk about this vacation to Key West. And you have the class dojo. I believe it went into evidence. If not, I'll explain it to you. He says to her, we're going on vacation to Key West. My family is going on vacation to Key West. After he says that, he then says, we will be appearing virtually. Is there anything else I need to do? And on cross-examination, I didn't know that he meant that he would be appearing virtually. He says it right in the class dojo. He wasn't looking to keep his son out of school for a week for spring break, I think, and then the family was going to Key West. By the way, if you're about to abuse or murder your kid, are you doing it right before you're taking him on vacation with your family to Key West? No. They had a system. Thumbs up, thumbs down. She testified. She very rarely gave a thumbs down. If Corey had an issue, which were few, she would go on class dojo and let him know about it. She also testified that Brianna never communicated with her. He did all the assignments. He was a good student. He was on time. And he was always dressed appropriately, I guess, except for that one day that he wore the long sleeves on a hot day. There was a reason he was the residential parent. And you see that through Kim Peace. He's a residential parent because he's taking care of this child. He's got a network. He's got his father, his mother, 3 siblings, one of which lives down here in Barnegat. He has a network and a support system. He's got a master's in education from Johns Hopkins. He's teaching children in the Baltimore inner city. And that's why he's got residential parenting. He appeared virtually every single time he was supposed to. And this is a theme. Every witness comes up here and just changes things. You have a letter that you say is parent of the year. They come in here and now he's not parent of the year. You have all these issues that were non-issues, and now all of a sudden Corey passes and now he's an ogre. They gotta make you try to, I mean, I say this and I hate saying it because it's such a color, whatever it is, but you're trying to fit a square peg in a round hole, and it just doesn't work. It just doesn't work. By the way, he showed up to school with the bruise. That's why they sent him to D.C. P&P. If he was hiding it, why would he send him to school with the bruise? He's not hiding anything because he didn't do anything. Now we're at April 2nd. Brianna drops Christopher off at Corey's. Prior to the drop-off, we have the accidental reporting, and we learn that he, through Sergeant Coles, we learned that that whole morning he's in communication with a woman named Marcy. That him and Marcy are talking back and forth about getting together. She asked Marcy about how's Corey? Is Corey all right? One word, yeah. Not, oh, he's sick. He didn't say that. Yeah. Just got home. I don't know what kind of evaluation he could have made, but the answer to Marcy was yeah. So, as he's speaking to her through the whole entire day, there's a conversation, according to Sergeant Coles, back and forth between them. Pizza. Do you want me to get pizza when I come over? Do you want me to bring a deep dish? Do you want me to do this? He's making arrangements with this girl, Marcy, to come to his home, to hang out. So, if you are abusing your child or going to kill your child, are you inviting a witness? Are you inviting Marcy to come over and share pizza with you? A person that could sit there and visually see your son? You're not doing that because you're not abusing your child. Use your common sense. None of it makes any sense. A lot of it makes sense. $11:53, he texts Marcy that he's asleep. Corey's asleep. It's 11:53. Takes a picture of him still sleeping on the couch, which I just showed you. That was at 2:02. Like I said, is that a picture you're taking of a kid you're about to kill? Is that what you're going to do? Is that the picture of the kid you're about to abuse? Did it look like he was abused already? We know Corey throws up and he defecates himself. The CSI detective testifies that he smelled the vomit in the house. And they make a big deal about the clothes in the garbage pail. Clothes in the garbage pail. The defecated clothes are in a garbage pail underneath a McDonald's bag. They made a big deal about it. He's a guy, and I hate to be a sexist, but a guy who has a 6-year-old and his kid did poopy in his pants and his underwear and soiled himself is not cleaning that stuff. He's taking it and he's throwing it into the garbage pail. And if he was going to hide it, would he have just put the McDonald's bag on top? Doesn't he think that if he's in trouble, that if he abused his child, that if he killed his child, he would put a McDonald's bag on top of the defecated clothes? No! It's ridiculous. He's ordering McDonald's to feed his child. If you're killing your kid, are you feeding him first? We know that Corey gets very sick very fast. Very sick very fast. Dr. Ung said it. Children decompensate very quickly. We know he calls Brianna. We know he drives him to the hospital. And he stops right in the middle of the emergency room. Right in the middle of the parking lot, basically. Sorry. Picks him up. He's not meandering into the emergency room. Goes in the emergency room, and what's the next thing we get? We get Nurse Doyle. Watch this now. This is amazing at how long it takes anybody to help. Here he comes. Tries to put him down, and ain't gonna work. Trying to talk to somebody to get some help. Daddy holding his son. Does that look like under-emoting to you? We still don't have Nurse Doyle. Still, standing there with this child. Does it take a doctor to see that that child's in distress? Concerned about making sure that they are identified and they have their stickers on them. Southern Ocean Methodist Memorial Medical Center. Now we see Nurse Doyle. Now, is Nurse Doyle doing anything to see Corey? Watch that video. I couldn't see his face. Couldn't see his face. He's a nurse. Go around the other side of Christopher and take a look at his face. In hindsight, you want to just yell at Doyle and say, do that. Still leaving him in the middle of the ER, that child in obvious distress. Moments matter. Still no help. Under emoting? Now we get him to bay number 6 after 4 minutes and 16 seconds. It took Southern Ocean Medical Center 4 minutes to render that child who is in obvious distress any aid. Any aid. The nurse said I couldn't see his face. Well, walk around, Christopher. Take a look at his face. You didn't need to look at that child's face to know that that child was in obvious distress. Well, he told me he was at the hospital the day before and they released him. So what? So what? This is what was presented to you. Get him in the back. Now it's all hands on deck. He told us, Nurse Doyle, that he was pale. Bottom said sign of infection. He was lethargic. Bottom said sign of infection. He had agonal breathing. I don't know what that is, but I guess that's not normal. Biden said that the breathing would be disturbed. Doyle noted all of those things. All. Now it's all hands on deck. They take Corey into the back. I believe it was room 6, I said. He goes into distress. They intubate him, and they begin to do CPR for 49 minutes on a 6-year-old. 49 minutes. They bring him in to say goodbye. No, he didn't wait for the doctor to go, all right, time of death is 5:03. They brought him from the room they put him in. The patient waiting room. Oh, Lindsay Carnivale, she just cracks me up. I'll get to her. But why do we have patient waiting rooms if that's not where the parents are supposed to sit or families are supposed to sit? We have them so you sit so they could do their job. So you're not in their way. Do you want to see your loved one intubated? Do you want to see your loved one having CPR performed on them? At 6? So they took him out of the room and they put him in a family waiting room. That's odd. According to Lindsay Carnivale, that's odd. Corey dies. Did anybody officially go, all right, time of death? No. They bring him in to say goodbye. He can't even get in the room. Look at him. Look at him. That's what they call under-emoting. They had to get him a chair. He's inconsolable. That's not a man, oh my God, I killed my child. That's a man, oh my God, my child is dead. Lindsay Carnivale, he lacked emotion. He under-emoted. He was clinical when he gave a history. Because he was calm when he gave a history. He was calm when he explained to the doctors what was going on. He was able to put himself together and say, Doctor, this is what's happening to my child right now. Please help him. Did she want him to be one of these parents? Oh my God, help him. No, he was calm. She got upset. He was calm when he gave his history. Was that calm? Was that under-emoting? Was that emotional? His oxygen level was 85%. Dr. Bottom. It's very low. Should be about 97. Sign of infection. Sign of a breathing issue. Lindsay Carnivale. We might have put the pulse ox on his finger wrong. Are you kidding me? Are you kidding me? Are you kidding me? You're giving him CPR, you intubate him, and you're telling us, the jury, and the people here, well, the oxygen level was low because we put the pulse ox on wrong. Come on. Dr. Bottom, loopy, hypoxic, all signs of low oxygen. Medicine science, not text messages, internet searches, phone calls, Facebook messages, medicine, science. So, blunt force trauma. The argument is that he beat that child to death by blunt force trauma, that the trauma he incurred on that child left no bruising, but we could see it underneath in the skin that there was bruising. So we had, I guess, invisible bruising. That's the blunt force trauma. With such force that he lacerated his heart and his liver, although even Dr. Andrew agrees that the liver had nothing to do with the cause of death. So let's think about that for a second. We see a red mark on Corey's chest. Every doctor testified to this circular red mark on his chest that occurred when he was in the hospital. They all agreed that that is not a bruise. That was from a medical device or a pad. So you're telling me that a pad that they put on this boy when he got into the hospital left the bruise, but the blunt force injury he caused, we can't see. It's not there. It's not there. It's inside. It was inside. It wasn't the chest injury. The chest injury happened 12 days prior. Every doctor testified to it. Deacon noted it. Og noted it. Andrews said it had nothing to do with his death. So, where is the injury that he did that caused Corey's death? There is none. None. Corey died from an infection. A rapidly growing, spreading infection. Whether it be pneumonia, which he thinks is over 50% chance, is what he told Ms. Lento. He did not die from a homicide. He died from natural causes. This is Dr. Bottom. He reviewed all of the medical records. He reviewed all of the information necessary to make a medical diagnosis. No, he did not review the Alcoa, Tennessee roadside videos. No, he didn't review Kim Peace's class dojo. No, he didn't read the text messages between him and Brianna. But what he did look at were all of the medical records. Dr. Bond, a person that the government called to reinvestigate the assassination of John Kennedy, Martin Luther King, a laceration that size, he would have been dead in moments. There's no way he could have died in that home, drove him to the hospital, went through whatever they did to him in the hospital, that Southern, whatever they did there. Why did he go? Big deal. We spent days on him leaving. Days on him fleeing. You know why we spend days on him fleeing? Because if you were thinking about him fleeing, you're not thinking about the medical records. You're not thinking about the things I just spoke about. You're not thinking about the fact that there's no injuries. You're not thinking about, you're like, oh crap, why did he go to Arkansas? Who cares? He did go to Arkansas. He did. He got in his car and he drove straight through. He turned off his phone. He didn't want anybody to find him. He wanted to be alone. He was grieving. And I don't know a single person in this room that can tell somebody how to grieve. His grieving was to run. If he was leaving because he was guilty of committing a crime, when he got stopped in Alcoa, Tennessee, and he gave them his car and telephone, oh, they had warrants. They didn't know that they had the warrants yet. He gave it to them. And they let him go. So now you think to yourself, if I'm guilty of killing my son, or I'm guilty of beating my son, and they've now taken my car, and they've now taken my phone, skedaddle, I'm out of here if I'm guilty, right? So if he's guilty, if the reason he left was because he had the consciousness of guilt, that's when he would leave. That's when I'd go. They take my car, oh, wow, they're right on me. And by the way, when he comes back, he isn't arrested for the endangering for 4 months. He could have been in Montenegro by that point. He stayed. When they wanted him, he was hiking in West Virginia. They called his father and they said, we want him to surrender at 9 o'clock in the morning. Dad, I can't. He's in wherever he was, West Virginia, hiking. Well, if he's not here at 9 o'clock in the morning, that's an issue. Dad called Hertz, tells them, or wherever he called the car rental place, stay open late, I got to get my son here. He drove throughout the night, not knowing what he was going to be charged with. Consciousness of guilt? Consciousness of guilt? Is that a guy that's guilty? That's a guy that says, here I am. And then they only charged him with endangering the welfare of a child. They don't even charge him with the murder yet. So for almost a year, with the endangering hanging over his head, then you saw, please. Yes, please.
clothing is this.
If you want to just take all this property that he's got in his possession and take it from you, Dennis can take it or take it either way.
How many police were there? I don't care if there were 5,000. I don't care if they brought the whole South Pacific in there to arrest him. He stopped, put his thing down, complied, and what was important to me was, yes, sir. No, sir. Okay, sir. They wanted him back. He came back. They wanted to arrest him almost, it might have been a year later. They arrest him again for the murder. Fleeing? Fleeing? Grief. His 6-year-old kid just died. He left to be by himself, to grieve, to cry, to be upset.
Mr. Gallucci, we're almost 2 hours. The jury probably needs a
Really?
break. Yes, we're
No.
5 minutes short of 2 hours, yeah. So
I don't really have.
well, you want a couple minutes to
uh,
go over everything, ladies and gentlemen, take a short break, and then maybe we'll take a late lunch after Mr. Gallucci finishes. I mean, I just know you've been sitting in those chairs for almost 2 hours. That's a long time. So, again, don't discuss anything about the case. Gonna wait for everything, both sides of my instructions, but take a little break in the jury room and we'll bring you back. I'm sure my reporters need a little break too. Blood loose in my legs again. 5 minutes short of 2 hours.
Like I was listening for
All right, please be seated, everyone. Thank you. Unless you need to stretch your legs, which is understandable. So I'm not going to hold you to an exact time limit, Mr. Gallucci, but how much longer do you think you have?
So that was 22 pages, and I got about 36 left. Judge, I have about 4 pages left.
All right. So then the plan should be,
And like, the end is, keep it open-minded.
right. All right, so I think the plan would be that we take a lunch break, come back and do the state summation after lunch. Well, right now I'm on the record. I don't know if council has anything outside the presence of the jury. I want to address some people in the audience, though. When the sheriff, some people left, but when a sheriff's officer tells you to move, you move. Several of you did, but one of you didn't. And it was a distraction during Mr. Gallucci's testimony, and the only reason I'm calm right now is because it was like an hour and a half ago. But I almost stopped him because I saw Officer Kennedy telling someone to slide down and someone arguing like they were entitled to a particular piece of bench. And that's inappropriate to do that. I wouldn't let it happen during the state summation. I wouldn't let it happen during the defense summation. When I was a defense attorney or when I was an attorney, I tell you what, the judge would have the sheriff's officer drag you out of the courtroom for doing that. Sheriff's officers have control of the courtroom. You follow their directions. It's a criminal offense to refuse to comply with the direction of a law enforcement officer. And when the officer tells you to move down, you don't stand there and argue with them about it. So fortunately, the jury didn't seem distracted by it. They seemed to be paying attention to what was going on. But it's uncalled for. And all those people that did listen, and most of you did, I thank you for that. But the officers here, they run the security of the courtroom. And when they tell you to do something, you need to follow it. We'll take a few minutes. I need a break. I'm sure the court clerk and the court reporters need a break. The sheriff's department will determine whether they close the courtroom or not. Back on the record, the jury's still in the jury room. We're gonna give them another minute or two. Anything from counsel outside the presence of the jury?
No, thank you, Your Honor.
Thank you.
Came right back, might have been a year later, they arrested him again for the murder, flaying rape. His 6-year-old kid just died, left to be by himself, to grieve, to cry, to be upset.
We ready? All right. 12:39, jury's out. Thank you. Please be seated, everyone. Mr. Gallucci.
So I once saw a play, and in the play, they had to stop it. And all the characters just backed off the stage. And when they walked back in, they started at the exact word that they had finished with, and they just picked right up. Unfortunately, I'm not an actor, so I can't do that. But I'm back. So, where was I? I was talking about him fleeing. Well, their word, fleeing. My word is left. Fleeing and leaving are two different things. Fleeing is meaning I took flight. I went somewhere to avoid something. Leaving is I left because I needed to go. And that's what he did. He left. And I just discussed with you that had he wanted to go, he had every single opportunity to go. And he didn't, because he's got nothing to hide. He didn't do anything wrong. And how do we know that? We know that from a number of reasons. We know that I don't think that they've proven their case beyond a reasonable doubt. As a matter of fact, I don't even think they're close, but I'm biased. Dr. Bodden talks about blunt force trauma. And he talks about the blunt force trauma that was incurred during the vigorous CPR for 49 minutes. And he said to you, he said, CPR is supposed to be vigorous. You're dead. If you're getting CPR, you're dead. And they'll do anything to try and get you back. And one of those things they need to do is to compress your heart by pushing down on your rib cage against your backbone, your spine, pushing into the heart to compress it. And they did that for 49 minutes on a 6-year-old child. And I'm not saying that whoever did the CPR did it wrong, although Dr. Bodden did say that it was much longer than it probably should have been. I'm not saying that the CPR killed Corey, because it didn't. But what they're trying to tell you what did kill Corey had absolutely nothing to do with him, and it was all CPR related and how, we don't need to listen to Dr. Bodden. He was paid by me. Their expert was paid by them. Guess who wasn't paid? The medical examiner, Dr. Ragasa, the guy that actually did the autopsy. The person that when he did the autopsy noted in his findings, C, injury, CPR, related. Related. Their medical examiner, Dr. Ragasa, who didn't testify here, the only one that doesn't have any skin in the game, he is the one that indicated that the injuries to Corey's heart and liver were possibly as a result of CPR-related injuries. Dr. Bodden testified that he's done lung and heart internships and residencies. He's done that. So not only has he worked on dead people, but he's worked on live people. And he has seen these injuries. He says it happens all the time. Does death happen all the time? No. Does CPR cause death? No, you're already dead. I asked that stupid question. Well, could CPR kill somebody? And he said, you're already dead. If you're getting CPR, you're dead. So an injury to a rib, an injury to your spine, doesn't really matter. That's superfluous to what lies on the other side. So let's talk a little bit. I really don't want to get into it, but I'll get into it a little bit because I know you want to hear a reason. These searches, the searches he made. So everybody searches things all the time, on your computer, on your cell phone, or whatever. And he deleted searches. He deleted all his searches prior till April 2nd. All. So now, if you're going to say to yourself, but Mario, why would he delete all the searches? I don't know. I can't answer that question. But if you were going to delete searches, right? If you were going to delete the searches that are going to hurt you, would you leave the searches in there that are, can my car be tracked? Can my cell phone be tracked? The searches he made about how long until an arrest after an autopsy. Does blood sugar show X? Does a rise in blood sugar do Y? So if you're going to delete searches because you're hiding your criminality, wouldn't those be the searches that you want to delete? They're not. They're there. This is an absolute tragedy. There is no words for the death of a 6-year-old child. When we met you, when we picked you, we told you the type of case it was. We told you what you were going to see here. We explained to you what this was going to be, and you promised all of us that you would take the emotion, set it aside, and that's going to be hard. He's 6 years old. It's going to be hard. But you have to. And you were chosen because we all believed you would be able to do exactly that. Now, if you do that, and you just look at the facts, the science, not the superfluous stuff, the searches, the fleeing, the superfluous stuff. The science, the medicine, the medical examiner, the doctor's testimony. If you just look at that, there's only one conclusion you could make. And that's the same conclusion Dr. Baden made. Corey died from natural causes. This is not a homicide. No matter how hard they're going to try to stick this square peg in this round hole, science is science. And Dr. Baden explained it to you exactly the way it happened and why you have it. Is it tragic? Hell yeah. Sad? Yes. There's no winner. She's sitting here crying. He's sitting here crying. There's no winner here. Corey died. That's it. Nobody had anything to do with that. So now I'm done. All right? Some of you may be really happy about it. Some of you may want to say, yeah, let's come back tomorrow and hear Gallucci do this all over again. I doubt it. But let me explain something to you. You're never going to hear from me again on this case. You're never going to hear from me again. So I talked about this earlier, the judge actually did. There's something called primacy and recency. They go first, as you saw in the beginning, and they go last, which you're going to see momentarily. So I don't like that, but that's our system, and that's what I have to live with. So I want you to do me a favor. I want, after they're done, and you go back and you deliberate, and you always remember what was said to you last, I want one of you to say, all right, I don't know which one of them is going to do the summation, but when you go back there, and whether it's Ms. Schran or Ms. Lento, and you're arguing back there, and they say, oh, Ms. Schran or Ms. Lento said such and such, I want one of you to turn around and say, all right, what did Gallucci say about that? Because everybody here spent a lot of time. Deliberations are exactly that, deliberations. You're supposed to go in the back there, you're supposed to look at the evidence, you're supposed to make decisions, and you're supposed to deliberate. And that's all I ask. Although I'm telling you right now that when you're finished, when you're done, there's only one verdict that I believe you can come up with. And that's that Christopher Gregor did not kill